You can now follow me on all my social media platforms to find out who my latest guest will be. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're notified for when my next podcast goes live. And boom, we're on.
And we're on.
And today's guest, we've got Rebecca Loos, is it? Loos?
It's a Dutch name.
Loos?
It's pronounced Loos, Rebecca Loos, but the English people call it Loos.
Yeah.
So
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
First and foremost, thanks for coming on the show. Very interesting story. I think everybody knows the story. Over 20 years ago, the affair, David Beckham, world headlines, one of the biggest superstars on the planet then, and still is to this day. Like anything, things fizzle. And then the documentary last year, you think it was a bit unfair. He's never really admitted it fair, but he's never denied it either. I'm not here to throw mud or try to shoot anybody down. He's got a family, you've got a family, you're doing great things now, doing your yoga, life's full of peace.
He's doing great things now too.
Yeah, so it's good to see, but it's good to understand you, the story in depth of who Rebecca is, before this, after this, how you deal with it, because the media is tough. Yeah. Let's be honest, they can destroy lives. The media kill people. But like I say, you've overcome a lot. And listen, it takes two to tango. So like I say, it's in depth to understand you, who you are. We've been friends for a while now, so it's good to build some sort of rapport where you feel comfortable to tell your story because you've never really went in depth. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and it's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
You've been really insistent on getting me on, so I'm here.
Listen, it's a big story, but before we get into all that, I always like to go back to the start with my guests.
Yeah.
Get more of a bit of understanding about you, Rebecca, where you grew up and how it all began.
So I have quite an international background, and we moved around a lot from country to country. So it's not a very short story, but I'll try and keep it simple. I was born in Madrid. I'm the second child. My eldest brother was born in the UK, and my little sister was born in the Netherlands. My father is half Dutch, half Swiss German, and my mother is half Spanish, half English.
So well-travelled.
Yeah,
Big,
and I did,
family.
we lived in London for our early years. I went to Bassett House in Notting Hill. That was my first school. Then we moved to Holland, and I went to a Dutch school, lived there until the age of 11, loved life in Holland. And then we moved to Madrid, and I lived in Madrid from 11 to 19. I went to the British school, Runnymede College. And when I finished school, I went to study in London, and London became my home.
What were you like at school?
I was quite restless. I find it quite hard to sit still. I will often get giggle fits and get sent out of the classroom, and then I would calm my giggle fits, and I'd come back in and start giggling again and get sent out. I had quite a few detentions, but I was never mean. I wasn't mean. I was like a nice, big-hearted, wanted to kind of always look out for the underdog, but was also a little bit cheeky and did get into trouble. So.
What was your mum and dad like?
When we were younger, they were quite strict, very strict. My mother had a very strict British upbringing. She was sent from Spain, where she grew up, to boarding school in the UK when she was 7 years old. And it was a nuns. She was brought up by nuns. So, they were hit and had to sit with their back straight. And so that's the sort of upbringing she had. So we got a bit of that. Had to sit with our back straight, had to sit, eat our dinner, sit still at the table, be seen, not be heard. So we were, we had a strict upbringing. My father's he's an only child. His parents were traveling a lot for business. They were away a lot. So he was also sent to a only boys boarding school in Switzerland. It was a good childhood. I was the typical naughty middle child. My older brother is a bit more he's quieter. My younger sister, she's just like the gorgeous little baby in the family with big brown eyes and ringlets. Like anyone would do anything she said. She had us all wrapped around her little finger. And enjoyed contrasts of life in Holland and Spain, and it was a good childhood.
What did you want to do after school?
So my dad's hobby racing driver and classic car enthusiast. So I grew up loving cars with my dad. and he would race. And I started being his co-pilot in all the classic rallies. It's great fun. It was crazy days.
Did you?
Yeah, crazy stories about the classic car rallies back in Spain in those days before the European Union had anything to do with Spain. I was 15 years old. I was his co-pilot. I think we were in the Jag. I can't remember which car we were in. And we did this classic car rally where we went up to the mountains with all these classic cars. And I had to like be his co-pilot and navigate. And then we'd get to this amazing restaurant and everyone would have this big lunch and they'd all have wine, shots, whiskey, and then they'd all get in the cars and drive back. And that's just how it was back then. That would not be allowed today. So yeah, I loved driving. I loved cars. So funnily enough, you're not going to believe this, but when I was 15, 16, I said to my dad that I want to drop out of school and I want to be a racing driver. That was kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the first female Formula One driver.
What'd your dad say?
Yeah, he talked me out of it.
So you come from a very strong family, quite well off.
Yeah, all right, well off, comfortable. I mean, we had good educations, good schools, a lot of focus on the outdoors. They loved hiking and nature. But we weren't like spoiled brats dressed in designer gear or anything like that. It was, my mum comes from an academic background, teachers. My English grandfather moved to Spain and set up the first ever British Academy in Spain. Did a lot of translating of very important Spanish books to English. So he was kind of an important man when it came to bringing the English language and the English culture to Spain. So he opened a lot of schools, English schools across Spain. So from that side, it's very much an academic background.
Are you closer to your dad?
I'm close to both my mum and my dad.
Equally?
I love them both equally. Yeah. I'm a bit more similar to my dad, I think.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because
Yeah.
obviously if you want to do the racing, driving and spending time with your dad, you kind of gravitate towards that.
Yeah, but the girls usually are daddy's girls, but I'm close to my mum as well.
Was your dad less strict?
Yeah, it was a bit more laid back.
Do you think you've seen that though, and that's why you kind of went that way?
No, I think... no. I just think that upbringing was very different when I was younger to how it is today.
Yeah, things have changed a lot.
Things have changed a lot.
What, kids used to get beaten
Yeah.
half dead if they done things
Yeah, I
wrong.
used to get sent to bed without dinner and...
Like it was like proper back then. It was a slap behind the head and
Yeah, it was no
there
nonsense.
was no nonsense taken. Did you sense that from your mum's upbringing? Because you don't understand it then. The strict kind of upbringing and sit straight and eat this way and talk this way and walk this way, and you wouldn't have noticed it then as a kid.
I don't think so. I think when you're a child and you have the upbringing you have and the surroundings you have, you just think that that's how it is and you get on with it. And then it's, when you're 18, 19 and you go out into the world, it's a whole journey. You're learning who you are, and then suddenly you become a mom, and then there's that phase. So it's just a different phase.
So what did you do after your dad says no about the racing driving?
Yeah, so he talked me out. He said, it's a man's world. It's very hard. Like, if you really, really want to do it, I'll back you. But he wanted me to finish school. So I was like, okay, fine. I was very good at languages. I speak 5 languages. I love languages. But most of my, so we kind of looked at hotel school in Switzerland because it was kind of international. But I got very sort of easily influenced by what other people were doing. I'm quite easily influenced. Well, not anymore, but I was when I was younger. A lot of people were doing business, marketing. So I thought, okay, I should do that. It was a big mistake. Stick to what you're good at. I keep telling my son that. Do what you're good at. Do what you enjoy. Don't do what you think is a good choice.
Yeah, I think it's important to do what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because life goes fast.
Yeah.
It's a fast-paced old life, and you kind of lose track of. And then memories kick in, and you think, shit, I used to love doing that. And you kind of don't do it anymore.
You go back to it.
Yeah, and you forget. So I think it's important for anybody watching to follow what makes you happy the most, no matter what it is, no matter if it's less money or a better boss or whatever. Just go where the happiness is.
Yeah,
and it's
do what
cheesy
you
to
enjoy.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, because you spend so many hours studying and then working with it, you might as well pick something you actually enjoy.
So what did you end up doing after that then?
So then I went to London. I signed up for international business and marketing. I absolutely hated it. I'm not a numbers person. And And, my headmaster, he put it really well when we had a meeting with him, like, what should I do? And he said, there's thinkers and there's doers. And Rebecca's a doer. I'm definitely, at least when I was younger, I was much more kind of impulsive. So what I ended up doing is I dropped out of uni. I didn't even complete my first year. Didn't tell my dad. I dropped out because they were sending me money every month. Plus I had a weekend job in London to try and make ends meet. But by then I had a boyfriend and I was discovering nightlife and Soho and I was having a really good time. And then my dad found out and he said, right, I'm not sending you any more money. I'm not paying for you just to live in London and party. So you're either on your own or you come home and you study here. And then I was like, fine, I'm on my own. So I got a job in Harrods, of all places. That was my first job.
What was Harrods like?
So I didn't work in the shop. I worked in the offices on the top floor. So above Harrods back then when I worked there. So this was when I was 19. The architects had offices on the top floor and I was a filing clerk. And it was really nice. I loved it. I had lovely colleagues. I wasn't there. I think I was there for a year. It was interesting. They told us one day that Al Fayed, the boss of Harrods, was going to come and visit the offices. And I thought, oh, that sounds exciting. And my female colleague said to me, don't let him see you, Rebecca. Hide. And I was like, what? She said, yep, he likes pretty young girls. He has an apartment down the road where he takes them. You do not want to get involved. Make sure he doesn't see you. So I hid, never saw him, never met him.
No way.
Yeah. And that's why I believe all those stories in the media today. And I also can't believe it's taken this long to come out.
Yeah, because I always thought when I heard the stories about him last month or a couple of months ago, it was because he was going up against the royal family. So I thought it was fabricated. And you never shoot down anyone with stories because you never know the real truth unless you were there. But I just thought with his son and Princess Diana and stories that came out, I thought, then why did the stories not come out when he was alive? So you were given a heads up with him back then?
Yeah, back then I was 19 years old. I had long hair down to here and really nice. She was an older lady, my female colleague. We used to have lunch together. We used to go out and have lunch. She was just absolutely lovely. She just said to me, Rebecca, just make sure he doesn't see you. Hide behind the filing cabinets when he comes. And I hid.
No way.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
That's mad, especially everything that's coming out now about him.
I'll tell you why it's taken a long time to come out.
Why?
I'll tell you what I think. And this is just my theory. People that have so much money can just shut other people down with NDAs and all these other contracts. And it takes a very long time for anyone, A, to speak their voice in those sorts of situations because you're up against power and money and they tend to win.
Do you think money
I think that's maybe why. He's probably just shut down people with contracts or paid them off or, I don't know, you'll have to get someone on here who's, who's involved. I'm assuming it's something like that.
But money buys silence. And if
Money
he was a
buys
billionaire,
silence.
then that's mad. I always kind of went the other way with him. I thought he was up against the royal family and he was trying to...
So you thought that the royal family were fabricating these stories as a type of PR spin?
Yeah, that was just my opinion over the last few months because I
Yeah.
thought, why did they not come out when he was alive? Because he seemed a tough old man where...
Because he had money and he could shut people down.
Well, you've lived it firsthand.
Yeah, yeah.
How long did you work there for?
I think I worked there for about a year. I really liked it, but that was just for me to get a job quick because obviously my dad cut me off. And then from that day on, I've never asked my parents for money. I've been very independent. So I just needed a job. So I got a job at Harrods because I loved Knightsbridge and I loved Harrods. And then that bought me time to kind of think, okay, well, Rebecca, you speak 4 languages fluently. I signed up to an agency, like a job agency that specializes in jobs for people who speak languages. And my first interview was with a sports agency. It was a tennis agency, tennis agent, one of the biggest agents at the time. He had a lot of international tennis players and he needed a PA that spoke English, French and Spanish. Then I had English, French, Spanish and Dutch. So I went for the interview. I think I did 2 interviews and I got the job. And then that's when I went from Harrods into the sports industry.
What sort of sports people then? The tennis?
Just tennis players.
Tim Henmans and...
We had Greg Rosetsky. He was our big player at the time. We had Peter Korda, who was number 1 in the world. We had Spanish Alex Correcha. Like you won't, I don't know if you remember these guys, but they were pretty big players. And then we had a lot of juniors as well from Argentina and Russia. And we would travel to some of the tennis events. It was great fun.
Was Rosetsky, is he not Canadian?
I think his mother's English, his dad's Canadian, something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, because I know he played
English.
for Britain, but...
Yeah, right. Yeah, he had an American accent. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
So how was that then, spreading your wings, feeling free? Is that the first time you kind of felt
I loved
like
it.
a woman kind of?
Yeah, I loved it. I had a flat in Fulham, which I shared with my friend Liz, and worked really hard Monday to Friday. Loved using my languages and feeling useful, feeling like I could help. And then, on the weekends, we'd go clubbing and we'd get a Ministry of Sound and we'd dance away. And yeah, it was a good life.
But what was your mum and dad saying?
Yeah, no, they were happy.
As long as you were happy?
Yeah, I had a good job and I was sort of traveling around and international. So,
did you have any long-lasting relationships back then at a young age? Or was it all just kind of fast-paced London nightlife?
I did have a few relationships. They didn't last very long, both with boys and girls. I had one that lasted about all my relationships, kind of the longest relationships. I think I've had 3 or 4 long relationships in my 20s, and they all sizzled out before a year. I don't know. I think the idea of settling down and getting serious was a bit too much in my early 20s.
That scared you?
Yeah. Who's ready to settle down and get into a serious
I'm
relationship
40.
when they're 22?
I'm 40 and I still
It's
fucking
way too much
struggle
to
with
me.
that.
You've got to go out and experience things.
I'm 40 and I still struggle with that idea.
You'll get that.
So what happens after that then in tennis? What sort of clients?
So, so working in tennis a few years, and I think I was a PA for 2 to 3 years, and then I got promoted to client services manager.
What was that?
That was the same, but not another PA came in and did the PA. So I was working more directly with the clients, looking at liaising between them and sponsors and getting them booked into the tournaments and all that kind of stuff. And then SFX Sports Group, this big company, bought us. And they also bought this football agency with football players. And they also bought an athletics agency. And they bought all these different sports companies and merged them all in one big company. So that was kind of exciting. So we were based in Richmond, and suddenly we moved to this beautiful big building in Grosvenor Street in London. Still with my boss, still working in tennis, but the tennis floor was we were on the same floor as the football floor, which was obviously much bigger. And they had all the big players, at Alan Shearer, David Beckham, Michael Owen, all the big players at the time were there. And that was fun. And we used to all go out to the pub every Friday, and really nice colleagues. And the football players would come in from time to time. And it was great. And that's how I kind of merged a little bit over to football, because of my languages, I would help the football agents with, can you help us with a fax in French? Or back then it was faxes, or Spanish. We'd help each other out.
Did you see the difference between the tennis players to the football players? Like the way they walk, because I was interviewing someone and we were talking about Formula One.
Yeah.
And I thought it was
Love Formula One.
Yeah, I thought it was all prim and proper, as like real professionals. We know the footballers, listen, we know their history now. It's no secret. But with Formula One, I thought, it seems prim and proper, like professionals. She was saying it's just as bad with the Formula One drivers. Girls. Oh, I think it was Katie Price, actually, because she was seeing Ralph Schumacher.
Right.
And he ended up coming out as gay.
Right.
So he did just, I think, last year, but she said he was gay 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And she says it was they're just as bad. I don't know if that's just a man thing, but usually sometimes now, because with tennis and golf and Formula One, they're very professional. You don't really see them coming out of clubs really steaming drunk.
No.
Footballers, you kind of see.
Footballers have got the worst reputation, unfortunately.
Did you see any sort of difference, or was everyone the same?
No, the football, they were really nice. Like Michael Owen he was lovely. He kept very low key. He would come in. He'd always say hello to everybody. He was never he was just a really nice guy, really sort of family man, nice guy. A lot of respect for him. Alan Shearer was lovely. He would come in. He would come with us to the pub on Friday, and he was just really nice. David Beckham came in a few times. He was a lot of us were like, I don't know, just the way he looked at the girls and stuff, it was a bit like, you could tell. There's a big difference between some players and the others. But I never went to the football matches, or I was never in that world yet. So I was very much tennis and just kind of, I would see what would happen at the office.
All great players. Michael Owen, he was only a young boy then.
Michael was a young boy, but he was married with kids, and he was very you just know when you meet someone by the way they look at you and they shake your hand and they say hello or whatever, like decent or a bit,
Flirty, yeah. Shearer, for me, one of the greatest strikers of all time. Unbelievable. He never won many trophies, I think. At Blackburn, I think, maybe. Him and Chris Sutton. I think they won the league, but unbelievable striker. So so it's not a case of, this is why it's important to go in depth of the stories.
Yeah.
Because it's not a case of you've met a high profile name and then went down with a big plan to then.
No.
Do you know what I'm saying? You've been around
This
these
was
names.
my
You come
industry,
from
yeah.
come from money, because it's easy to throw gold digger card and this.
Yeah.
You've come from money. You've hung around with these people.
Yeah.
Did you? Because like you say, if someone comes in, shakes your hand, and then there's somebody else,
Yeah, you can tell.
There's clues there.
Yeah.
It's like anything. But so you'd already met David beforehand, before you became his
I don't think
PA?
we'd officially shaken hands, but he'd been in the office a few times. And I've said this before, I was waiting down at the reception of SFX Sports Group. I was waiting for my colleague. We were going to have lunch. And he came down and just kind of looked me up and down and just kind of signed a book or something and then went out. And it was just like, I just looked at my friend and went, it was like, oh my God, let's go and have some lunch. So that's kind of how we looked at those sorts of, we were not like, wow. I was never like starstruck by any of these players. For me, this was a job. They have their careers. It was my job to help them to, with sponsorships and all these sorts of things to make things go smooth. And I loved what I did. So, yeah.
How did the job come around then to be the PA for David Beckham?
So I think he was playing at Manchester United, and then he went straight from Manchester to Madrid, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was going to sign with Real Madrid, and then his agent and a couple of the football agents were going out. And of course, I'm born in Madrid, fluent in Spanish. So I went with them that weekend just to help them to translate, to help them with the contracts, to look after Victoria, drive her around, take her shopping, make sure she was happy while he was busy with the football things. And they loved how I worked and offered me a job for them after that weekend.
How was their relationship then? Because even though with the documentary and stuff, they seem quite strong.
Yeah.
She seems strong. She seems the captain of the ship. She seems the one keeps everything instead. Like, how was it back then? Obviously, they're both young as well, and kind of the superstars. Spice Girls, Manchester United. Like, he's an unbelievable football player.
Big superstar. Yeah, she is strong. She's got a great sense of humor, really sharp, fun sense of humor. She can have a laugh, which is nice. I don't think I want to go too much into like them and stuff like that, just because I know that the media and the newspapers are going to pick up on stuff, and I've got to be careful with what I say, but not for legal reasons or anything like that, but because I just don't want to attract too much attention.
Yeah, of course, that's understandable.
But no, I think they had a strong relationship. I think it's difficult when your spouse gets a job in another country and moves away and you have your career in another country. I think that's difficult for any marriage. I would find it hard if my husband suddenly got a job in another country, moves away, and I've got the kids and I've got my job and my career, and at the same time I've got to see him. So I don't think it was easy on the marriage. It wouldn't be for anyone. But eventually she moved there, and but yeah, I think it was hard on their it must have been hard on their relationship with him signing up for a country. I don't think she was particularly interested in moving to Madrid. She had her career, her plans, and couldn't have been easy.
Mm-hmm. So you got the job. How was life going then? Were you excited?
Yeah, it was a good job. I was also a little bit tired of life in London. I was I'd been in London for quite a few years. I think I was 25 when I moved. So then I'd been in London for 6 years. I was kind of ready to say, okay, thank you, London. So, I officially moved to Madrid and kind of thought, okay, I'll stay here and kind of be closer to my family. And, this is where it will be for me from now on. And that was nice. Life in Madrid is nice. It's hard work because when you work for a family that don't speak Spanish, don't know the country, the bodyguards don't speak Spanish, it's a lot of work on you. So I had to be the first person they saw in the morning, and I was kind of with them all day until they go to bed, and then I could go to bed. But then it was very on and off. Then they're all there for a few days, and then she leaves, and then I can relax a bit more. And so, yeah, it was hard work, but it was good.
What was your daily routine like as a PA for David Beckham? Is it intense? Is it 15-hour shift, 18-hour shift? Like, how did it work?
It's just whatever they want, you just got to make it happen. So, yeah.
Like what?
So, like, I don't know. Hey, we've got our family and friends coming over, and there were a group of 20. We were going to watch a football match at the Bernabeu, and all the football matches in Spain are on quite late. They start like at 9 o'clock, and they go on to 11. So I did say to Victoria, should I book somewhere for dinner? Saturday night, football night, busy night in Madrid. She's like, no, we'll be fine. And then the match ends, and he had all his mates over and his family over. She had mates over. So we're talking about a big group of people. And she's like, do you know what? let's all go for sushi. Can you book us something for sushi? I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, fuck. I'm like calling all the restaurants. It's not easy to get a booking, but in the end we got a booking and we were on our way there and we all went and had sushi. So I liked it. I like a challenge and then other days it's stuff like, organizing day trips to the safari park with them and the kids and finding them schools, putting them in touch with good agents to find a house, just typical PA stuff.
How was the relationship with her?
Mine?
Yeah.
I don't know. We might have to fast forward from all of this, James, because I just don't want to go too much into
that's
the
okay.
whole...
If you're uncomfortable with it, you can just say, look, I don't want to answer that. It's just to get an understanding.
Yeah, I think we can just fast forward a little bit. But I had a good working relationship with her and with him, and
So how did
with his family and the kids, and it was good.
Did she move back to UK?
She didn't move out in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So he moved out. They lived in a hotel. And then, of course, it takes time to find a house. It takes time to settle in a new country. Mm-hmm. She was in the States. I think she was doing an album with somebody called Damon Dash, something like that.
How long did you actually work with them for? Was it 4 months?
I worked for them from June 2003 until December 2003, which is where he ended his contract with SFX and signed with her manager.
So see, were you flirting with each other, you and David?
I was definitely not flirting with him.
He
was flirting with me.
Was he?
Yeah, a lot.
And what was that feeling like, obviously?
At the beginning,
were you used to that?
I've had sort of bosses, I've had that attention before. At the beginning, I was pretty good at it, but he was alone a lot, and I was kind of his, shoulder to lean on, and we grew closer and closer, and then, one day I just gave in, as you do. Back then, when you're young, all the decisions you make, they felt right at the time. Of course, we look back in hindsight. But at the time, it's what happened.
How old were you?
I think I was 26. 25, 26.
So is he. Listen, it takes two. But what was that feeling like after it then? Were you confused or did you start growing feelings?
No, I did start growing feelings. But, okay, I'll just touch on this one thing and then we'll move on.
Okay.
The first night I stayed with him in his hotel. I did say to him, because I expected him to do this with many girls. He's a football player, and the way he looked at girls and blah, blah, blah. It was, and I did say to him, you must do this so often, you can have whoever you want. And he just looked over at me and just said, I've never done this before. You're the first. And of course, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, because, you do when you're 26. So I felt pretty on top of the world. And that didn't last long, because 2 weeks later, I saw a different side to him.
Like
but,
what?
But then I was hooked.
Did you love him?
I don't think so. No, not really. I think I was just, I just think there were strong feelings. I wouldn't call them love.
Did he have feelings for you?
You'll have to ask him.
Was it more than one time you slept with him?
Yeah, I stayed with him a few nights. But then he met someone else.
Were you upset with that?
Yeah, very.
Even
of course
though
I was, because he lied to me. He played me.
Even though
Big
you were
time.
cheating on Victoria,
Yeah.
did you feel cheated on?
Yeah, of course.
Did you?
Yeah, I felt like, I just felt like it's just not okay to look someone in the eyes and lie to them. Like, be honest. Say, I do this all the time. This is just a bit of fun. Cool, then I know where I stand.
Would you have been happy with that?
Yeah, I was happy with whatever, but I'm happy with honesty,
What about the photo in the restaurant when that came out? How did you sleep with each other before that, or was that after that?
The photos of the restaurants, that was the first night.
Did it carry on and then it stops and then?
Yeah, it kind of carried on and off, and then he had others, and then it was just, by then I was hooked onto him, so it was quite hard. It was a tough time. And, there were the pictures in the news of the world. There were rumors going around. He then ended his contract with the SFX Sports Group, signed with her manager, Simon Fuller. So he was going a bit more down the show business route than the football route. And journalists were reaching out to me and, we've seen the pictures. Can we do an interview? Blah, blah, blah. And then in the end, I just thought, okay, this is probably going to come out. It's probably better it comes from me. And I decided to kind of tell my story. And I naively thought people would really appreciate somebody being honest and telling the truth. But people don't. They want to believe the fairy tale.
No, because you're going to get the gold digger, home wrecker, you're going to get all that. And that's understandable because
the British media, I was not, I knew it was going to be big. I didn't realize it would be as big as it was. I didn't realize I would get as much hatred and shit as I got back then. It was shocking, really shocking. And so after I did that, and I thought I was just going to give an interview, lay the record straight. And then I was planning to go to Australia because my sister was together with an Australian guy. She lives in Australia. And I thought I'll just go there, take some time out, rethink my life and just start again. Maybe go back and study, start anew. That was kind of my plan. But at least I've said the truth. And I would prefer to be, there's this lovely quote by Kurt Cobain. I would rather be hated for who I truly am than loved for who I am not. And that was very much how I felt. I felt, I'm going to be honest. This is what's happened to me in my life. This is who I am. I know some people will hate it. Some people will appreciate it. But at least it's what I've done. It's who I am. And that's kind of, it's my motto. It still is my motto in life. Mm-hmm. Can't please everybody. And you mustn't change who you are just to fit in my opinion.
Do you think if he was up front and say, look, this is a little thing, blah, 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 do you think you would have ever came to the forefront with your story? Or do you think you done it because you were hurt as well? Because feelings start coming and you think, fuck you.
I was really hurt. This me going public was a, fuck you, mate, for treating me like that. Big time. It was. Yeah, it was I don't care how powerful you are, how much money you have. It's not okay. Definitely what it was. You're young. You act on your emotions. I would have probably gone about things very differently today. Maybe just contacted a lawyer and gone down a legal route.
Because he was a superstar. He was becoming a superstar with the Real Madrid things.
Yeah, he was a superstar. He was one of the Galacticos. It was really great. And
and that was an unbelievable football team.
And it was great. It was great. I got to work with, Real Madrid, some of the best players. I went to Ronaldo's birthday party at his house. I've got a lot of great memories from those years. And it's, but there was heartache. Yeah.
Is that what it was? Heartbreak?
Yeah, it was definitely heartbreak. All right, anyway.
Okay.
We're moving on.
Okay.
So I was going to go public and then I was going to start again. But because the way the newspapers were writing about me and the names I was being called, and then...
Like what?
Especially the Sun were awful, really awful. They found out that I was bisexual. They did a front page newspaper article where Rebecca Loos is bisexual. She must be a slut. She sleeps with men and women. It was just awful. And so I felt the need to defend myself. So then I did an interview on Sky TV. And the reason I did an interview on Sky TV was because my really good friend was a producer on Sky. And I needed to go with people I trusted. And so she set up this fantastic interview with Kay Burley, the news presenter. And after that interview, things changed because people got to see me, they got to hear me, and suddenly things started rolling a bit more in my favor. And then I got asked to go on the Richard and Judy show. So then I thought, okay, let's go and do this. I need to go and defend myself. So I got on a flight. I went to London. I went on the Richard and Judy show. And from there, James, it just snowballed from here to there, to a reality show, to Love Island, to The Farm. Before you know it, I'm in this fast-paced celebrity life, which was never my plan, but it's just kind of happened.
How do you then? That's what I'm saying, because unless like I say, you still got to take accountability. You still slept with a married man.
Yeah. I'm no angel.
You're going to get shit.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
Listen, by all means,
throw
it up. But it's because you then created this celebrity lifestyle as well.
Yeah.
Because you lapped it up. You ended up in Playboy.
Got shit for that too.
Yeah, of course. But,
but the funny thing is, I got the shit. Victoria got the shit. David fucking never got any shit. That's the world we live in.
Does that upset you?
That upset. And that also made me want to just keep hello, this is unfair. Didn't upset me. It's the world we live in.
He's never admitted it. He's never denied it either. I think the word they used is ludicrous.
I thought he would come out with an apology. And then that, for me, that would have been closure and I could have just moved on. I never got that. And again, no, he never denied it. He released a statement saying that my claims were ludicrous. And ludicrous is neither denying nor admitting. It's a great way to deflect. So it makes it look like it's ludicrous, but ludicrous can be true. Yeah, that happened. It was ludicrous, but it happened. It's not it didn't happen.
How was it?
It's a legal term.
When you came forward then, gave your story kind of, like you admitted, fuck you, to then people then try to discredit you, calling you a liar, gold digger. Like, how was that feeling? Did that make you more bitter to try and...
More better?
Bitter?
Bitter.
Yeah.
I like your accent, but I have to focus. That didn't make me more bitter. I think I just kind of, I'm an emotional person. I just kind of go with it. And it was a lot of feelings, and there were really good days and fun things. And then there would be like not such good things. And I think I just tried to really focus on the positives as best as I could. Yeah.
So once the story breaks out, how was life then? Like, what was your mum and dad saying?
No, they were like everyone. It was huge when it came out. I think everyone reacted the same way that I reacted. We were so shocked that, I expected to get some shit. Of course, what I'd done was wrong. I didn't expect to be like applauded or anything like that, but I didn't expect the media or the newspapers to be as mean and ruthless as they were, and neither did my parents or anyone. So then it just became a case of having to try and, I don't know, fix things.
How was your partying and stuff after that?
I still enjoyed partying. I still enjoyed going out. It was a very good way for me, I thought at the time, to escape things and not face up to feelings and emotions and, to what I was really going through. So I don't think I really properly processed all of that or healed from it, because there's quite a lot of traumatic things you go through until I fell pregnant and moved away from the UK. That's when suddenly I was a mom. There was no more drinking, no more smoking, no more partying. I had a little baby, and I had to just everything. I had a lot to process.
When were you at your lowest with it all?
I was at my lowest probably in 2008. I can have very highs. I can have really super highs where I've got a lot of energy and woo, and I can be like, wow, and I can be really crazy and like the party in the room. And I can also have lows. And then I shut off and I'm really low. I'm not that often in between. So that's kind of how my life was. And 2008 was a lot of lows. I had a depression, really bad depression. It was my third depression. And I started taking antidepressants. And I think now it's so good how it's become, there's so much talk about it and people are open about mental health and depressions. It's just the best way for us to deal with it is to be open. Like, I'm not okay. I need to talk. I need someone. That wasn't easy to say back then. Back, 20 years ago, you didn't talk about it. 20 years ago, you wanted to show people you were strong. You want to make people proud. And if you're having a hard time, you keep that to yourself. So it was different times.
Because you ended up going down the reality route. What was Love Island like?
Love Island was fun. I was in the first ever Love Island. How crazy is that? 2005. Callum Best, Isabella Hervey. I think we had Wayne Sharp on there. Paul Danan. It was fun.
Paul Danan. He done an interview with my friend last year. He's mad, Paul.
He was mad on Love Island.
He's But so how was that life then? Obviously coming from very good upbringing.
Yeah.
Decent job, working with the biggest names on the planet, to then obviously the affair. You can't really concentrate on the job anymore, so your love goes. Like, how was it going from, because it's one end of the spectrum to the other, to a very fast-paced, fake world and that reality life? Like, how was that experience for you? Yeah,
it was kind of when whole reality was massive back then. It was like the big thing. I thought it was fun. I was in my late 20s and flying around first class and living in resorts in Fiji. And, I had a good time. I met a lot of lovely people and I enjoyed it.
What about Playboy? How did that come about?
Playboy, they contacted me in, again, I think that was 2005 as well, or 2006. I can't remember when Playboy came out. And they asked if I wanted to be a cover girl for Playboy. And of course, I was like, hell yes, I want to be a cover girl for Playboy. That was like the coolest thing ever. So it was for the Dutch Playboy, and then the cover went to Brazil and went to all these other countries as well. So that was kind of cool.
And
it's weird being naked in a room with like photographers and lighting and all these people. Like, I thought I'd be quite cool with it because I'm quite an exhibitionist and quite comfortable with my body. But it was a bit strange, but it was fine. I loved it.
And what is it? Singing with the Stars? What was the music one you done? With Sharon Osbourne was giving you shit.
Celebrity X Factor.
Celebrity X Factor.
Yeah.
James Stewart.
Yeah. So we got cast, or I got cast to take part in Celebrity X Factor. It was a 1 week X Factor show. It was for charity, to raise money for charity. So all the people who called in and everything, all the money went to the charity of your choice. When they recruited me, they said, we're doing Celebrity X Factor. We're getting celebrities in. Like, nobody can sing. It's not about how well you can sing. It's just, this is for charity. It's about having fun. I can't sing, but I love singing, but I can't sing. So I was like, oh, this sounds great. I'm in. And then they said, okay, but you're in duets and you're with James Hewitt. And I was like, James Hewitt, who's had an affair with Princess Diana. Come on, give me a break. It was such a setup. But I met James. He's a lovely, lovely guy. He's a true gentleman. I really connected with him. And I thought, fuck it, let's do this. This could be fun. Then again, this is fucking producers for you who know how to make headlines. A first song we sung, we wanted to sing a Robbie Williams song. And I can't remember which song it was. And they said, no, you can't sing that. Because somebody else is doing Robbie Williams. So you have to sing Robert Palmer, Addicted to Love. And that's where I said, no way. First of all, it's James Hewitt, it's Rebecca Loos, both known for affairs, and you're going to make us sing Addicted for Love. I said, it's not happening. And by then we're in a contract. So our hands were tied and we had to sing Addicted for Love as our first song, which wasn't our choice. And of course, the newspapers, you can imagine the headlines, which is exactly what the producers wanted, because all they want is headlines for their show. Yeah. That's, it was a lot of that in the reality world, in the TV world. So it was good times, good people, but most people had their own agenda.
Because there's rumours of him being Prince Harry's dad.
There are.
And he is the spitting of him. That's the crazy thing. Like, he's went with Diana, you've went with Beckham. Like, that's royalty in itself. Like, to be fair, that is good TV. That is very well produced. Like, if I was producing that's perfect.
That was clever.
Honest,
the producers did it. They did a good job.
And that's a smart song as well. So you ended up doing the song, but Sharon Osbourne came for you, and she's fiery. She didn't hold back. Like, how did you expect that? Was that planned, set up, or was it just how she fought?
I did not know. I knew that she was friends with the Beckhams, and I knew that she wouldn't be particularly probably kind or nice to me, but I didn't expect her to be as vicious as she was. That was shocking. Live on television in front of the whole nation on a charity show. It was...
At the charity show, which makes it crazy.
Crazy.
When people you're actually putting yourself on the front line. But again, you've still got to understand people's mindsets because of what happened as well. Like, there's no smoke without fire. But again, it was a charity show. And even, listen, people listening to you and hear, you are a decent person. Like, it's an affair, but you just had it to the ultimate top level.
Yeah.
And nowadays, people are just fucking doing what they want anyway, and social media. But back then, the media was the media. So after all that then, how was life? Like, the celebrity, like, were you fast-paced? How was it all working? Were you getting tired of it?
Yeah, I was quite tired of it. And, I have my 2 dogs and I live near the park, and I spent a lot of time outdoors in the park and walking. And I think that's really what helped me get through most of it. But life, life was London. And then I met my husband on a reality show. I got invited to go. Now we're getting to the good bit. I got invited to go on the reality show in 2008, which was my really hard year. And it was a reality show filming in Norway. It's called 71 Degrees North, and you're living in tents, and it's outdoorsy. And I love these kind of adventure outdoorsy things. I was the finalist of Survivor in Spain. Spent 3 months on a deserted island in Honduras. One of the best experiences of my life. I loved it. And so I was quite over reality TV, and I was in talks with a production company to be a bachelorette, The Bachelor, but the female version of that. So, that it was kind of... That was my life. And then I was like, oh, shall I do this reality? And I thought, Norway, I've never been to Norway. Sleeping in a tent outdoors sounds fun. Fuck it, I'll do it. It'll be my last reality, I'll do it. And I signed up. And that's where I met my husband.
What does he do?
He's a doctor. And he was the sort of doctor on the show. And as well, he was in charge of a lot of their kind of security on the challenges that we did. A lot of zip lining and adventurous stuff like that. So.
Do you think you needed someone like that in your life to, I wouldn't say tame you, but to quieten your mind? Like, coming from that fast-paced reality, celebrity status, especially David Beckham, like, for a man as well, like, if I was to meet you 10 years ago, you've had an affair with David Beckham, I'd be insecure as fuck, because you've been with Becks, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there. So how did he handle that? Did they struggle with it, or was it quite calm?
I don't know. He was really calm and nice, and he's just a really nice, kind, easygoing, You know, as they say in Norwegian, there's this great saying for somebody who's helvær, like hard wood, full wood, solid. He's just a good, solid, kind, generous, lovely guy. And so we met on the show, but he's very professional. So he hardly spoke to me because, you know, you only get to speak to the doctor if you're injured. And then
you faking your injuries?
I didn't fake an injury, but I did trip once, and I have this heavy backpack on my back, and I fell and I hurt my toe. And I could have been fine, but I did ask to see the doctor just because I thought he was gorgeous. I mean, he's tall, blue-eyed, broad shoulders. He was just like, wow. And anyway, but after a week on the show, he comes up to us. We're on skis in the mountain, and he comes up to us. He goes, "Okay, guys, I'm leaving now and another doctor's taking over. It's been really nice meeting you. Good luck." And skis off. And I'm just like, oh, don't go. I didn't know anything. I just knew that his name was Sven. I didn't know his surname, didn't know if he was married. I couldn't ask. I'm not going to go, oh, that doctor was really handsome. You know, I'm not going to do that. So then that evening, I got voted off the show. So I get back to the hotel. And I say, I've got a really bad headache. Can I see the doctor? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I'm waiting in a room. I put my lip gloss on and sort of do my hair. And I'm waiting for the handsome doctor to walk in. And this other doctor walks in going, oh, hi, do you need a doctor? And I just looked at it. It wasn't him. It was a new doctor. And I was like, oh, no, it's okay. I'm better now. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then that was it. I was quite heartbroken. I was like, oh, I always meet people and it never works out. And I was feeling, you know, I'd gone all the way down again, down to, you know, back to London, back to my life. And I'd been just outdoors in the mountains, fresh air. I'd been feeling so good, smiling, happy. And it was like, I was down. So the next day I get up at 5 a.m. to get a train to the airport in Oslo to then get my flight back home. And I'm traveling with a photographer. And we're both flying to Holland to meet the producers of the show. And then I was going to fly on to London. This is where it comes in. I check in for my flight, 9 a.m. The photographer checks in and then he says to me, I'm going out for a fag. Do you want to come out? So I said, yeah, sure. And I'm walking out and I thought to myself, I don't really want a fag at 9 a.m. So I said, look, you go. I'm going to go in and do some shopping and I'll see you on the plane. So I changed my mind. I turn around, go to the security queue. Who's fucking standing in the security queue?
Sven?
Yeah, Dr. Sven. And I was like, hi. And he just looked at me and went, hi. And he's like, oh, do you want a coffee? And I was like, yes. And, you know, if I'd had that cigarette, life would be very difficult.
Floating around these reality shows. But you end up falling pregnant the first month. That's life. Is that when your whole life kind of transforms? Because obviously now you do yoga, you're in the mountains, you're trying to calm the mind. Is this when you started to heal, do you believe?
Yes, so I fell accidentally pregnant. So the first weekend, so 2 weeks, Sven and I just talked on the phone every day and we're totally falling for each other. So he was on his way somewhere else and then he changed his flights after 2 weeks and came to London for a weekend and then was going to carry on to Norway. And that first weekend we had together after having known each other for 2 weeks, I fell pregnant with my son. And
what are you thinking then?
I mean, I fell pregnant with a guy that I've known for 2 weeks. He lives in Norway. It wasn't ideal. My first decision was I wasn't going to keep it, obviously.
What was that?
Nah, of course not. So I booked myself in. What saved my life today was the fact that I found out I was pregnant the same day that I was traveling to New York. And so I booked an abortion for the day after I got back, which would be a week later. And I go to New York and none of my friends at this point in London, no one has children. I wasn't planning on having my own children. I was going to adopt one day because I knew I wanted to be a mother, but I wanted to have a child that didn't have a home. That was always my goal in life, to adopt, never to have my own. And so I go to New York and I land. Abortion's booked for when I come back. Go and get my nails done. Girl who's doing my nails pregnant. I'm like, oh, and then I leave the nail shop. Everywhere I go, I see pushchairs, I see babies, I see all these things that I never saw before because I'm a dog person. Like I'll walk past a pushchair, I won't even pay attention to the baby. But if I walk past a dog, I'm like, oh my God, what dog is this? You know, it was just babies were not part of my interest. And then suddenly when you're pregnant, it's all you see. Fucking kids everywhere. And I had a week to think. And so first I called him and I said, I'm pregnant. I'm not going to keep you. So I'll support you, whatever you do. You're just lovely. And then I had this week away and then I came back home. I canceled the abortion, obviously.
How was that decision?
I had to make the phone call to Sven to tell him I was keeping it. It was the worst day of my life because I know he was a super independent guy. And it's like, it's not the news you want to give to someone. So I just called him and I said, hi. And I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry, but I've had time to think. And I don't think I can go through with abortion. I'm going to keep the baby. It's not the baby's fault. And I was 31 at the time. I had money. It's not like I couldn't afford to have a child or anything like that. And I just said to him, I can do this on my own. I don't need anything from you. I don't need money, nothing. I've got this. And you come and see the child whenever you want. Like, I'm not one of those women that's going to be like, you know, I'll do this and you can play whatever part you want. No worries. And he turned around and he said to me, if you're going to do this, I'm in. Let's do it together. I almost fell off my chair. I was like, what? Really? It's like, yeah, let's give this a go. He just had one thing. And that was that he's a doctor. He's got his patients. He's got his life set up in Norway. It's not so easy for him to pick up and leave and come to London. Was I willing to give Norway a shot? It's like, yeah, let's do this. Doesn't work out. I can always come back.
Is that the first time you
16 years later. Second kid, married, still in Norway, loving life. Really loving life. Best decision ever.
When did you start looking inward? Because like I said earlier, people are always going to blame you anyway for the thing from the past. But when I talk about trauma and healing, it's because of the press. It's because of what you go through, the depression, the suicidal thoughts, thinking, shit, am I this bad person? Like, we spoke at dinner last night, it's an affair.
Yeah.
No one's asked. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not that big a deal, but because of the name of it, it makes it a big deal. But when did you start looking inward and really thinking about everything that went on? Did that come to the forefront when you came to Norway? Or was it always something you were trying to work on? Because we're good at suppressing human beings. We're good at trying to forget.
I think when I was in London, obviously I loved exercising and running, and I ran the London Marathon, and I loved training, and I loved doing some yoga on the side. So, but for me, my main focus was to exercise, to run, and then some yoga. And I was outdoors a lot with the dogs. I think that is really what kept me alive, having that, you know, exercising, going outdoors, being close to nature. We are nature, so we need that. And of course, when I came to Norway, I got a lot more of that because they're super outdoorsy here. And yeah, I had a lot of time on my own with a baby, walking in the forests, going to the mountains. I had time to sit, think, and process. And I think that's when my healing started. And obviously my healing, you know, I'm very focused on being a mom, and the second kid came. But then I really got back into yoga in 2012. I just had this calling inside me. So when I was pregnant with my second child, I would sit on YouTube and I'd watch yoga videos by my favorite teacher, Laruga Glaser. And I would just watch her and watch her and watch her. And I just knew that when I'd had the baby, I was going to get back to Ashtanga yoga. I was going to get back to yoga, and I was going to do more of it. And the beautiful thing about yoga is yoga teaches you to focus on yourself on the inside. It doesn't teach you how to focus on how you look, how your hair is, what handbags you have, what clothes you wear. None of that's important. It teaches you to stop and check in with who you really are. And through doing that, through practicing, through breathing, through moving, all these layers that had come onto me through the celebrity years and everything else just started peeling off. And I felt like the old me came back. So that's my healing journey is a combination of outdoors, nature, yoga, calming down, stopping, checking in with myself. And it's been like that since, for many years now.
Why is yoga important for people?
I think yoga is important for people because yoga teaches you to slow down and check in with yourself. And we live in a fast-paced world. We live in a world with a lot of crazy stuff going on around us, a lot of stress. Stress is one of the biggest killers. Yoga de-stresses you. Yoga helps you live in the now. It helps you appreciate the things you have. You'll want less and appreciate more what you have. You know, it's very important.
Where do you think you would be if you never fell pregnant? Do you ever think about that?
I'd probably still be living in London.
Doing every reality show under the sun?
No, probably not. I would probably have settled down with somebody at some point eventually, I imagine. I don't know where I'd be.
What was the farm one with the wanking off the pigs? That got us so much hate as well, but do you think it just because it was you?
Yes.
Like, what was that story?
That was crazy. One of the other, big realities I did was The Farm. Again, this is producers picking people because they're going to get headlines. And, I was pretty naive and I just went along with things. I'm the sort of person that you give me a job, I'll roll my sleeves up and I'll get it done. I'm not like, so, and I loved The Farm. 3 weeks I love animals. I'm such an animal. I don't eat animals. I love animals. I'm the biggest animal lover ever. And, we were on the farm. We had pigs, we had cows, we had horses, we had like kittens. It was amazing. It was great. I was there with Vanilla Ice. He was on there. And, Victoria Hervey, that's where I met her. She was on the farm with me. And, some people had their arms up cows' bums, other people, we did farm work. And so I got picked to collect sperm from a pig which was then going to be inseminated, which somebody else did, into a sow to make piglets. And so I thought this was fascinating because, people love their bacon and their sausages in England. You all love your bacon sarnie, but nobody ever stops and thinks, how was this bacon made? How do they reproduce? How do these pigs live? Now they just think, oh, my bacon sarnie. So I was fascinated in having this eye opener into the world behind what we eat. And so, I had to go and I put gloves on and I had to hold the pig's, willy, and pig sees a stool and gets kind of horny and humps the stool. So it's nothing to do with me. I didn't fucking turn the pig on like some people said. But some of the headlines were ridiculous. So anyway, it was really fun. So I just did my job and I went back and had a little laugh about it, and everyone did different jobs. I didn't think anything of it. It was just farm work. And I asked the vet, this is what's so fascinating. I said, is this how pork is reproduced? And he said, yes, in the UK, 60% of the pork, this was 20 years ago, I hope it's more than 60 now, is reproduced this way because it's much kinder on the female pigs, on the sows, because when a male pig humps a female, he's very heavy. He can damage her back. He scratches her. Not only that, you get disease, viruses, all this kind of stuff. So by manually doing it, it's a much cleaner way of reproducing pork for the people who eat the pork. In Holland, back then, 90% of all pork was reproduced that way, manually. So I thought that was fascinating. Did you know that?
No.
See? So there we go. So I thought I'd done something really cool. And then I come out of the farm. To meet my manager and my parents, who were fuming with me. They were so angry. Why did you do that? I was like, what did I do? And then they showed me all the articles. And I was like, my heart just, again, a massive downer. Like, I can't do anything. Like, yeah. And
yeah, because of his
that's
complaints and everything. Are you kind of naive? Because you should, because you're on it as well. But
I was very naive.
Surely you should know, you're going to be doing these things on these shows, singing these songs.
But what about the other celebrities, James, that had their arms up cows' bums and stuff? Why wasn't that front page news?
Because it's your story.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Yeah.
So you've came to Norway, living life, 2 kids, doing your yoga. Everything's sweet. You're kind of away from it all. It's like anything, everything fizzles.
Yeah.
But we've got to touch on it. The documentary comes out on Netflix.
Yeah.
What are you then thinking? Is it just bring everything back up to the surface? This is one of the reasons why we're here today.
Yeah.
It's just to kind of go over things and then put it to bed. But like I say, something might happen again in 10 years, 20 years. I hope not, and everything can just go on with their life. But it's such a big topic, and the documentary was massive to be then getting that hype again. Did that bring everything to the surface again? Because you're older, a bit more mature, you're dealing with things a bit better, but did it bring back old emotions?
Yeah, it did.
Did you get a heads up as well that it was coming out?
I didn't get a heads up. No, but they didn't have to give me a heads up. It's not like they mentioned my name. Yeah. So, no, the documentary came out last year. Last year was a tough year for me. Personally, I had a tough year with my youngest son, and then going through a lot of stuff with him, with different diagnoses and stuff. And that's hard as a mum to go through that. Then in the July last year, my mother got diagnosed stage 3 cancer. So it was a really hard year. And then October or November, I can't remember when it was, their documentary comes out, and suddenly everything was brought up again in a very different way, because now we have social media, which we didn't have back then. And I love social media. I love my Instagram. I love blogging about my life and posting pictures, and I love doing photos. reaching a lot of people through social media, but I then saw a very nasty side to social media, which is this kind of trolling side, people writing to you, calling you names. And yeah, it was surreal. I went a little bit into shock, I think. It just took me a while to know what to do. Suddenly I'm being contacted from news companies and television companies all over the world, being thrown crazy amount of money at me for interviews. And I just kind of shut off and just needed some time to think. And then, am I going to just let this blow over? But it wasn't blowing over because of the social media and how people were just like going. So I did change my settings on my Instagram. So the only people that can comment are the people that I follow. So Instagram was good like that. But then, yeah, I decided that, you know what, is how he has spun it and how he's made himself the victim. Not okay. And I just felt like I had to say something. So I did an interview and I did Good Morning Britain and then pulled back again.
Do you think you'll ever get closure with it? You have got closure.
Yeah,
listen, you get your
definitely.
family.
I've got closure.
You know what I'm saying? It must be difficult. Listen, I always keep saying it. You have to take some sort of accountability, responsibility, but you never feel as if he's never done that. Do you feel as if it was just put to bed then if he says, okay, it went on? Because I think in the documentary, she says it's one of the toughest times, the toughest time, I think, on the relationship.
Yeah, and it probably was. I mean, it would be for any of us, like I said earlier, if your, partner suddenly picks up and moves to another country, it's a strain on a marriage.
Because obviously we've heard comments saying it was the toughest time of their relationship.
Yeah. I think all these experiences in our life are a part of our lives. It's a part of who we are and they make you. And I am so in love with my life now, with who I am, my family, my kids, what I'm doing, my yoga teaching, and of course that affair and the scandal and all the celebrity and everything that came afterwards and Playboy and all those things. They're a part of me. They'll always be a part of me. And I feel that I'm at a good place.
Because obviously life is going good now. You've got your kids, husband.
Life is going good. And you never know with life what can happen tomorrow. It's up and down. So I'm enjoying all the good while I have it.
Going so good. How would you feel if someone was to have an affair with your man?
Yeah, how do you think I would feel? I mean, how would you feel if someone came along and cheated on you and your?
I'd be getting the shotgun out.
Yeah.
I'd be getting the shotgun
out. I mean, I think I'd be surprised. Of course I would.
I've got to ask that question.
Yeah, of course you have. Everyone asks that question. It's fine.
Do you know what I mean?
It's that question I get, and I get the "Do you have any regrets?" question all the time.
Listen, regrets are bullshit, but
regrets are bullshit.
It's just the feeling of that as well. Do you know what I'm saying? We've got to look at it from every angle.
Yeah.
And you think, you bastard. You know?
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets to anything?
You just said
no, not just for that, but in life, would you change anything?
No, I wouldn't change anything. James, like all the mistakes we make and all the decisions I made at the time when I made them, I thought they were the right choices. And this is how we grow. This is how we learn. Of course, I look back and I wish I'd done many things differently. Who doesn't when they look back at their life? But everything I've done, it's all brought me to where I am today. And I'm so at peace and happy with who I am. I love teaching yoga. I love helping people. I love working as a part-time medical assistant and being a mom. And I love life in Norway. And, it's everything I've done has brought me to where I am today. Mm-hmm. So,
because even though, like I say, people make accusations, people say things in life, but you were never sued or anything, never took to court. Like, why did you never release a book or anything? Like, people say you're on it, but why did you never release a book? You must have had offers.
Had offers, many, many offers. And maybe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Start the pot again. I'll get you back on for part 2. You spoke about your son earlier. Can I ask if it's personal? It's fine, I understand, but how is he? You never said.
He's really good now. He's really good now. He had some tough years. He's got a couple of diagnoses that was, we found out. And he's both has autism and he's got ADHD. And, he's probably got that from me. I've never been diagnosed, but I'm definitely very out of the box.
I'm going to ask you on the spectrum, but
probably. I'm very,
is.
I get very upset when things are unfair and people lie. I've got a real thing about that. I don't like it. But my son's doing great and we've learned so much and grown so much. We've changed the way we parent because of him. We've, understood him so much better and life now is great. parenting is one of the hardest jobs.
It's a tough old
It
job.
really is.
Do they know your life?
My kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty open about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Bisexuality, everything. Keep telling them they can, bring home a boy or a girl, whatever it is, it's going to be fine. In this house, there's no closets. Never feel the need that you need to come out or tell me anything. We love you just the way you are, and you can love whoever you want. It's been like that since they were small. So
Because your experience with men, like I always thought, no disrespect, like maybe you'd have went down and settled down with a woman or whatever. Listen, women are if not fucking harder work, but I thought maybe, did you ever have a lasting relationship with a female?
I did. Yeah.
Did you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Almost a year. Again, I think we broke up 11 months. Yeah. I think for me, when it comes to my sexuality, it's about the person and who I meet, and whether they have a female body or a male body makes no difference to me. I can love both. It's just as long as I have this sexual connection and that energy and the chemistry, then it doesn't matter. And it just so happens that it ended up being Sven.
What was it like getting married?
It was nice. Yeah.
Did you ever think you would get married?
I don't know. I would never been the top sort of girl who's dreamt of a big white wedding and to be walked down the aisle. My dad didn't walk me down that. We didn't have a traditional wedding.
Did you not?
I'm not one of those girls.
Why?
I've never dreamt of a big white puffy wedding dress and the big walking. It's never been me. I think I'm just a bit of an independent type, and maybe some traditions. But we got married after we'd already had kids. We had 2 kids. We bought a house together. So it just felt a bit weird to do a wedding where my dad gives me away. Like I've already chosen. So we had a very small wedding just down at the registry office with a big lunch. And then we had a big party with friends. So very non-traditional, but super fun.
How's your mum now?
She's doing really well. Thank you for
Good.
asking. Yeah, she's in remission. She just had her results from her last scan. She's all good. Yeah, she's doing great.
How do they see you now? Do they see a change? Obviously married, settled down, because it's difficult to see. Because I lived that fucking fast paced. I loved the nightlife. I loved the drink,
Yeah.
the drugs. I fucking loved it. Even talk gets me excited. But it's
Yeah, I still, when I go on my runs and on my power walks, I'll have my headphones on and I'm listening to house music, and I'm listening to house music of the 90s, and I'm like, yeah, back on the podium, dancing in my bra, and yeah, reliving those good memories, good energy.
What's your daily routine like now?
My daily routine now is very much the kids. Obviously, with everything we've gone through, it's my youngest needs a lot of care. So it's a lot of, making sure I food prep. I make a lot of food at home, a lot of healthy, good ingredients. Walking the dogs, looking after the house, going to work, teaching, being a wife. And then when I have some time, seeing my friends. I make sure I prioritize going outdoors. Can't say it enough. Go out for a walk, get fresh air, surround yourself by trees and nature.
There's a lot of kids now seem to have like ADHD, autism, and kind of really struggling. Like, what advice would you have for anyone who's maybe going through the same with their kids?
It's so incredibly individual from person to person, and there's all these different types of ADHDs and autisms, and I can't give people advice. What I can tell you is what we've done that's helped us, and I just changed the way I parent. We have changed the way we parent our sons. So I choose my battles. I don't put pressure on him. I don't raise my voice. If I ask him to come and he doesn't come, I'll let it slide. I'm just laid back. It is what it is. Dinner's ready. Come when you're ready. If he doesn't come at once, we'll just start eating. He'll turn up. It's just, there's no medication for autism. The only cure is that the people around the child or the person know how to handle him and know how to behave and change the atmosphere to make him comfortable or her comfortable. It's hard work, but it helps.
Because there's so many labels out there now.
Yeah.
Everybody's diagnosed with something. I'm too fucking scared to go to see anybody, man. I'd be fucked. I'd be in some mental asylum fucking licking the windows, man.
But it's like what I say to my youngest son. He's like a little superstar. He's out of the box. It's so much fun to be different. It's so much fun. And it's hard to teach kids this, but I'm trying to teach them. Mummy's out of the box. I'm different. I'm always a little bit too much, or I speak, and you're never going to please everybody or fit in, but it's cool to be different. Who wants to be one of the sheep? Be a wolf, be a bear, be something else. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why did you feel today was a day to tell your story?
I needed some time. You've been chasing me for a while.
Story for me, yeah, this is massive. Like, I do appreciate you giving me this kind of trust with your story. I understand, listen, there's going to be uncomfortable questions. It's an uncomfortable topic. Do you know what I'm saying? But I've still got to ask certain questions because I know what people want to
I
hear.
don't think it's that uncomfortable anymore. I think, I'm 47 years old. I'm pretty at peace with my journey and who I am and where I've been. For me, it's not that uncomfortable. I'm just careful not to touch on too much of it because I know that the newspapers will pick up and things spread like wildfire. And I do then get the trolling and get all that. And I just can't be asked with that. So that's why I've been very cautious with doing too many interviews or speaking to too many people. But it's part of who I am. It's part of my journey. I liked your vibe, your energy. I love how you have so many real people on your channel and such a variation of people because at the end, we're all the same.
Yeah, I appreciate
We're all
that.
the same. We're all a part of nature. And so.
Yeah, like I say, it's fucking over 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
like it's hot topic with the documentary. Just, but like when you see, what happens if you see someone like him on the TV or then? Does it just nothing? Just switch it off? Or how does it,
What do you mean?
feel? Like if you see him on the TV or the newspaper?
Switch off.
Do you?
It's
Just
not, doesn't
asked?
affect me at all. I'm just like, oh, next channel. Yeah.
Because like I say, it's fuck all. It's an affair.
It was years ago.
But,
years ago.
yeah.
It was like asking anybody how did they feel when they cross paths with somebody they met in their 20s. I mean,
Where do you go forward for the future, Rebecca?
hopefully still doing what I'm doing today, still doing my yoga teaching. I'm teaching a lot online. I'm trying to get more classes out there to people. The good thing about online teaching is you can reach anyone, anywhere in the world. I really like that.
How can people get in contact with you if they want to do one of your classes or?
Yeah, I'm trying to get, a lot of people have been reaching out to me. I'm trying to get some classes posted up on YouTube so that people can just log on and do them. And right now I'm teaching through a Norwegian platform with live classes every week. So I will get some YouTube classes up eventually when I have some time between my mothering and life is busy. But yeah, so, and I'll try and stream some stuff on Instagram at some point.
When are you at your happiest?
I'm at my happiest when I'm with my family, when I'm in the mountains, skiing, walking with my dogs, always with my dogs.
Good on you. Like I say, listen, for giving me your story today. I thoroughly appreciate it. Thankfully, we got it in the end. And like I say, it's just your story. It's not that. I've had killers on here, bank robbers, drug lords, people come in their pants when you hear their stories. This is just Rebecca Loos. Yeah, just bringing up, and like I say, it's to put it to bed. Do you think you can just flip the chat? Yeah, you've already done that, but do you think you can really just, who gives a fuck anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck anymore?
I know
It has been an interesting life, and it has been a lot of different phases and a lot of different lessons learnt. And I'm grateful for everything, the good and the bad.
For anybody watching, because I know you've battled with your struggles yourself, for anybody that's in a life of struggle right now, what advice would you have for them?
It gets better. It really does. It gets better. Just believe it. Have hope. And go outdoors, get fresh air, stick to nature, stick to good people. Yeah.
Would you like to finish up on anything else?
No, thank you very much for having me. It's been nice.
Yeah, anytime. For anybody watching, what would they like? What would you think they would take away from today?
I hope they just get to know me a little bit better if that's what they're interested in, and just the gentle kind of reminder to slow down, check in with yourself, take some deep breaths, close your eyes. More stillness, more calmness in your life, less stress.
Rebecca, listen, thanks again for coming on today. I wish you nothing but the best for the future, and I look forward to see what you do. God bless and take care.
Thank you.